In this Star Wars Battlefront 2 video, we are going to be taking a look at the future of the game. From the hacking situation to the weekly events and of course Kyber V2. There is a lot to take a look at, but before we do dive into everything, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future Star Wars Battlefront 2 videos. So with the resurgence over the past month or so, I've been thinking about various aspects of Battlefront 2 and its future, and I thought I would just share my thoughts on what I expect the future to look like for this game. As I've shared in previous videos, there will be no updates coming to Battlefront 2 in the future in terms of content. DICE developers who worked on the game have revealed that it's just not possible, and yeah, this game will forever be as it is now in terms of content, outside of modding of course. However, there might be an update in relation to the hacking situation. So on PC, Galactic Assault in particular has a bunch of issues. There are some bad actors that are causing the game to just not be possible to be played, specifically that game mode in certain servers. With so many more people playing the game right now, it's not as bad because there are just way more servers and not enough hackers, but when the game wasn't as popular, there wasn't many servers to go around, so most people ended up being in those hacked servers. As I shared with you a few weeks ago, the Kyber team, who are working on Kyber V2, have been working with EA to resolve various issues with the hacking situation. So there were a few fixes implemented a few weeks ago that fixed a bunch of different hacks. However, there are still a bunch more happening, and like I said in a video a few weeks ago, EA are working with Kyber to implement more fixes. Since then, we've actually seen Error 721 be fixed, which is something that I don't think anyone expected to be fixed. So they are doing some stuff. We just don't know when it will be. They aren't communicating, which makes sense given it is relating to hacking. Typically, you don't communicate when you're trying to fix things when it comes to hacking. That's just standard protocol. Fingers crossed we do actually receive some fixes for the current hacking situation, because if not, PC players will just completely switch over to Kyber V2 when it does fully release. This will harm the people that don't want to use Kyber and just want to play the vanilla game. And to those people that don't know about Kyber and just are completely removed from the community will purchase the game, check it out, and then just find out it's ridden with hackers, which is not a good look, and of course those players will not return. The game still has ongoing weekly events as well, which a lot of new players don't know about. The messaging does pop up when you first load into the game on a day that an event is on, but a lot of people just skip them and don't actually read messages. So a lot of people were completely unaware of what these weekly events were, and I've mentioned them in a few videos, but if you are new to the game, basically ever since the game ended 5 years ago, there has been weekly events on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturday and Sundays. These include things like triple XP on Wednesdays, fast spawn on Mondays, and double XP on the weekends. Now, these actually do have an expiry date, believe it or not. These events will end, and this was confirmed by Matt, who was the producer that actually set these up at DICE before the development was shut down, and he said he believes he set them up to end in something like 2030, because that was 5 years ago. It seems so far away. He did not expect people to actually probably be playing this game in 10 years time. So yeah, he said they will likely stop working around 2030, and he wonders if people still be playing all the way that far in the future. However, Ben, the former community manager who worked on Battlefront 2, who is now a producer at DICE working on the single player department of Battlefield, said to me on Discord that they will just extend them if they do actually expire. So good news everybody, if you are still playing Battlefront 2 in around 5 years time, so 2030, the events will likely be extended by EA and DICE, which is cool to see. In terms of player count, it has dropped off quite a bit since the resurgence peak. We hit 18,000 concurrent on Steam, which is the smallest player count out of all the platforms, so it was far, far higher, in the hundreds of thousands when you combine all platforms. It's gone down quite a lot, but it's still higher than it was before the resurgence really started to pick up. So that's good to see on Steam, where, again, very few people actually play. This means people are still able to easily get into games very quickly in much more regions than usual, and of course different game modes, because back in just a few weeks ago, before the resurgence began, a lot of game modes were very difficult to get games in, outside of Heroes vs Villains, Supremacy, and Galactic Assault. Some of the more fun game modes are the smaller ones, which a lot of people didn't actually play much over the past few years. However, a lot of new players have checked them out, and still to this day, it's really easy to get into games. I'm not sure how long this will last, but it's still good for the near future. At least there are people still sticking around that are new to the game, and to be honest, it makes sense. There is no competition. There is no other ongoing Star Wars multiplayer shooter game. Yes, there is Galaxy of Heroes. Yes, there is SWTOR. But the Fortnite season just ended. Star Wars Hunters is shutting down. There just is nothing else to compare to Battlefront. So this is all what Star Wars fans have, effectively. And there is no multiplayer Star Wars game that we know of that's in development. And even if it was to be announced this year, we are still many years away from that actually releasing. So naturally, people just flock to Battlefront 2 because that's all we have, and it's a great game to have, it's just that it doesn't have any more content. Battlefront 2 has had a steady player base that's still been declining over the past 5 years. That said, with this resurgence, it's definitely keeping it alive for longer. It's extended its lifespan to whenever the next multiplayer game does come out. There isn't actually that many games out right now to compete with either. It's a dry period, it is summer, so games typically don't come out during the summer, and there isn't that many multiplayer games that people are like just absolutely loving. You know, with Fortnite, the play count is down massively. So many people were turned off by the Star Wars season, and now that has ended. They are still not really big into Fortnite. So yeah, it's been a perfect storm. It's just worked so well for Battlefront 2, where people are fed up of other games they've been playing, and now they're going back to Battlefront 2. Or they are checking it out for the first time, which is fantastic to see. It's just a shame that there is such imbalance. There is basically no skill-based matchmaking in Battlefront 2. So you have a lot of people that have been playing for the past 7-8 years, like myself, with thousands of hours in the game, with everything unlocked and such, and then another large portion of the community that barely play the game or are completely new and literally have nothing unlocked. So there is imbalance there, and that's not great for new players. It's not like we can downgrade our star cards from purple to silver. It's just not possible, and of course, naturally, most people aren't going to play worse just to cater to new players. I can't turn off my muscle memory of how I play the game. It's just not feasible. There are lots of things that us players that have been playing the game for 8 years just know about the game, and yeah, it doesn't create a great environment, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's not going to last as long as people would have hoped, because the skill gap is just so big. It is a very casual game, and it shouldn't be all about skill and stuff like that. New players can still have a good time. It's just very imbalanced in various game modes and lobbies, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's just the way of how pretty much every old game that doesn't get updates goes. So in the near future of the game, it will continue as is, and inevitably the player count will drop over time. However, I would say that for all platforms, but no, only mostly on console, because on PC, Kyber V2 is coming. The full release is still hoping to come this summer. Regardless of when it does come, it's going to be absolutely huge. And I've had a lot of people that are new to the game ask me questions. What is Kyber V2? I've read your comments. I've already made a bunch of videos on Kyber, which you can check out if you click my Battlefront 2 playlist, where it explains everything about Kyber. But essentially, it is a launcher for the game that allows for custom servers, so you can have private matches, 1 versus 1 lobbies. You can create your own community rotation of maps and modes with mods. Seriously, modded gameplay online is allowed with Kyber V2. You have stats as well, along with proximity chat, which is going to change things. You know, just having these abilities really will help the community thrive and create more content. For example, people are going to be able to share their stats with one another, and that'll create conversations. There is also proximity chat, and people will be able to create some fantastic memories from that, great gaming sessions, and create awesome content out of it. The community over on Kyber is just great as well, and it's now achieved over 100,000 members on the Discord, which is absolutely insane. It has more than doubled in just a few weeks. It just goes to show how many people are actually excited for Kyber. In comparison, the Steam peak player count was 18,000. Steam is still a small portion of the player base. A lot of PC players are waiting for Kyber. There are thousands of people that are paying for the Patreon to support the project because they really believe in it, and of course a bunch of playtesters as well. There is going to be another playtest wave coming soon with thousands more people invited to test it out. However, we will have a full release which will be free for everybody at some point this year. The team at Kyber really do want to nail it, get everything right, so there aren't issues when people are playing. They want to make a great first impression for the entire Battlefront community. I know some people really don't want to move from console. I just want to explain a few things. Some people don't want to move from console to PC because they are afraid that they'll have to use and learn a mouse and keyboard. That's not true. You can use a controller in Battlefront 2. It has aim assist. On top of that, it's relatively cheap to get a PC that runs Battlefront 2 these days. Battlefront 2 was optimized 8 years ago. 8 years has passed. You can get a very good PC for less than the price of a PS5 that runs Battlefront 2 better than a PS5 can. Plus, games are just cheaper on PC. You don't have to pay for online multiplayer like Xbox and PlayStation do. So spending upfront on a PC evens out over time and is just better overall. Sure, you lose all your progress, but it doesn't really matter in Kyber because everyone on Kyber starts off from zero. All the stats are separate from the EA servers, so yeah, doesn't really matter. Kyber is not only just going to allow people to create great content, host community servers, the potential for competitions, things like that, but also allows for new map mods to be used, and this elevates, in my opinion, Battlefront 2 more than other mods. The reason being, yes, we've seen many character mods and such before in these mod packs, which are great, and people love playing those, but we've still had the same map set for so long, 5 years now. However, there are map mods, some have even been made by members of the Kyber team, which port things like the large-scale Bespin map from 2015 over into this game, and I think that's a big turning point. Map mods are extremely difficult to make and such. This has taken a long time to do, but if more were to come, then this is seriously going to make Battlefront 2 on Kyber last far, far longer, because you can add 100 heroes into the game. It's not the same as a map mod. It's a whole new location to enjoy and experience, which really changes things, because you're not just always going to be a hero, you're not always going to be a reinforcement or whatnot. This really will, I think, change things for the long term. During Battlefront 2's live service, the PC version of the game was by far the smallest platform to be playing on. It was a small fraction compared to Xbox and PlayStation. However, over time, people have switched to PC, a lot of console players have stopped playing, and it's a lot more even than you think right now, which is very, very cool to see. It just goes to show that a lot of people have jumped ship. You're not alone if you do want to jump from console to PC. There are a lot of people that have switched to get Kyber, just play mods offline and such. There are so many great reasons to switch, and Kyber is going to allow you to enjoy new Battlefront 2 content in a whole new way that you'd never thought you'd experience. And with it being a server browser, you're actually able to see how many people are playing, what maps to jump into, what modes are populated. It just makes the whole experience a lot better. So I definitely think it's going to be a great time, at least for the next couple of years. I've also had some people question EA turning off the servers for Battlefront 2. There are tens of thousands of people. There was just hundreds of thousands of people concurrently playing Battlefront 2. They aren't going to turn off the servers for a game that is literally making them money to an extent, right? They are selling copies of the game dirt cheap. Servers cost a lot of money. Like, you'd be surprised just how expensive the servers cost to run. They aren't in the business of losing money. However, right now, it's doing fine. In many, many years to come, when there is virtually no one online, then sure, makes sense. But EA only do that when there is literally no one online, as we've seen in the past few years when they've turned off servers for like Battlefield Bad Company 2, which virtually no one played, Battlefield 3 on Xbox 360, there was literally no one playing those, so yeah. Whereas Battlefront, even before the resurgence, still had thousands of people playing, so that's where I see Battlefront 2 heading in the future. And it's not as bright as it would be if we were getting new content from DICE, but it's still pretty damn good because of the community, because of this incredible community that has stuck by this game for so long, that has been in this DICE Battlefront era for over 10 years now. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I've talked about in this video, so please do let me know down in the comments section below, and remember to drop a like to help support the channel, subscribe so you don't miss any future Star Wars Battlefront 2 videos, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.